Let's talk about a plant that was supposed to save people from starvation, but instead, it was used to kill them. This is the story of the world's most deadly survival crop. Our story starts right here. Ethiopia, 1984. Yep, that name probably brings one thing to mind: famine. But the story you think you know, it's not the whole truth. Honestly, it's not even close. I mean, think about it. Having a barn packed with 1,000 pounds of food, that should be the ultimate insurance policy, right? It's just common sense. So, what if I told you that for thousands of farmers in Ethiopia, that very same food wasn't just useless, it was a death sentence? To really get how this could even happen, you have to understand the plant at the heart of it all. See, it wasn't some kind of poison. No, it was a biological masterpiece. It was nature's perfect survivor. This plant, the lentil, was literally engineered by nature to thrive in the worst conditions imaginable. When the rains just stop and the soil turns to dust, when every other crop shrivels up and dies, the lentil, it just keeps on growing. It's an absolute evolutionary marvel. And you know, this kind of thing isn't totally unique. You see it with the boniato sweet potato in Cuba. During all those trade embargoes, when nothing else would grow, the boniato flourished in terrible soil and it kept people alive. In Ethiopia, the lentil was supposed to be that lifeline, the ultimate drought survivor. But here's the insane twist. The very thing that made the lentils so amazing, its unbelievable resilience, that's exactly what made it so deadly. Its greatest strength became its greatest weakness. Because, you see, the problem was never the plant, it was the system. This is what's known as the cash crop trap, and it's how a simple, life-saving seed becomes the bars of a prison. Now, growing lentils is one thing, but harvesting them? It's a special kind of hell. It is one of the most backbreaking, labor-intensive jobs in the entire botanical world. I mean, we are talking about a grind on par with harvesting saffron, where you have to handpick 75,000 individual flowers for a single pound, or peeling real cinnamon bark by hand. It takes everything you've got. So let me ask you a question. If you spent your entire day out in the sun, breaking your back to harvest 1,000 pounds of food, would you just let some guy walk up and take it all from you simply because he waved a piece of paper in your face? And this is the trap, laid out perfectly. It was a vicious, inescapable cycle. Step 1, farmers take out loans for seeds and land. Step 2, because of the drought, the only crop they can grow is lentils. Step 3, the lenders, these banks tied to the ruling regime, they didn't want food, they wanted cash. And the only way to get cash was to sell the lentils on the export market. Which brings us to the final, brutal step. The entire harvest gets taken away, sold overseas, and the farmer is left with nothing. Nothing but the original debt. It's that simple, and it's that cruel. They weren't farmers anymore. They were slaves to an export market, working on their own dirt. And a trap like this, well, it leads to a horrifying conclusion: the harvest of starvation. This is what happens when food starts to flow the wrong way. In 1984, 1 million people died. Not because there wasn't any food, no. They died of starvation while they were literally surrounded by fields of it. Just let that number sink in for a second. 1 million. Can you even begin to imagine the psychological torture? To be starving to death, to watch your children starve, while trucks loaded with the very food you grew drive right past your home, on their way to a port to be sold in some other country. It makes all those other fruit industry tricks, like when they decided to call a common brown mushroom a portobello to sell it for more money, it makes that look like a child's game. This wasn't some clever marketing gimmick, this was a death sentence, delivered by the truckload. But the story doesn't end in despair, because eventually people fight back. This is the final chapter, reclaiming the dirt. The 7-year fight for the most basic human right there is, the right to eat. You see, this whole crisis taught a very painful lesson. What makes something a true survival crop? Well, it's not just about what survives the heat. It's about what you're actually allowed to eat. Look at something like the winged bean, where every single part of the plant, leaves, pods, roots, is edible protein. Or the winter melon, a drinking crop that doesn't rot for weeks. A crop's value is absolutely meaningless if you don't own the harvest. And so they fought back. It was a brutal 7-year struggle filled with unimaginable loss. From 1984 all the way to 1991, a rebellion just grew and grew, fueled by the primal need to survive. And then, in 1991, they won. Rebels overthrew the military regime, and finally, that cycle of debt was broken.
The outcome was so profound because it was so simple. For the first time in a generation, farmers could finally eat the food that they grew on their own land.
They stopped being a biological delivery service for faraway banks and foreign markets. They took back the lentil, and they started fueling their own lives.
So the lesson here, it's crystal clear. A plant's power to save you is worthless if the system it exists in is designed to control you. It all comes down to who holds the seeds.
When you really boil it down, we took a drought-defying superfood, a plant that took millennia to evolve into a source of life, and we twisted it into a weapon of debt that killed 1 million people.
People are eating these things in their healthy soups today with no idea that this little bean was once the symbol of the deadliest illusion of security in modern history. Now, that's absolutely wild.